In a world gripped by concerns regarding overpopulation, we embark on a journey to explore a different perspective. A perspective that challenges the prevailing notion. Is our planet truly facing an extinction-level event? Are our resources dwindling to the point that our own planet cannot support us? When discussing overpopulation, we must consider not only the number of people, but also their resource consumption and distribution. Looking back on history, we now know that advancements in technology and agriculture have consistently outpaced population growth. However, is this always to be the case? Is the current birth rate negatively influencing predictive models? Will humans eventually deplete the limited resources currently available to us? If so, when? Many of you have likely heard the claim that all of humanity can fit comfortably inside the state of Texas. While theoretically true, it would require significant adjustments and considerations. Allow me to explain. The total land area of Texas is approximately 268,596 square miles, about 700,000 square kilometers. According to the website Worldometer, and as of this video, there are approximately 8 billion people alive. To estimate if humanity can fit in Texas, we need to determine how much space would be available per person if everyone were to live there. Assuming an even distribution of people across the entire state and not accounting for factors like water bodies, infrastructure, and other land usage considerations, let's do some basic calculations. The total land area of Texas is 268,596 square miles, or about 8 trillion square feet. If we divide this area by the current global population, each individual person would be allocated 948.67 square feet. Keep in mind that this calculation is purely theoretical and does not take into account the practicalities of living conditions, infrastructure, agriculture, water sources, and many other factors essential for sustaining such a population. In reality, the population density and distribution would likely not be uniform across the entire area, and significant challenges would arise in terms of resource availability, infrastructure development, and overall quality of life. Additionally, densely populated areas can lead to environmental issues, resource depletion, and strained infrastructure. That being said, let's shift our focus to our cities. The modern world has witnessed a remarkable rise in urbanization, where cities have become hubs of innovation and efficiency. But how does this contribute to the argument against overpopulation? Cities, when planned and managed effectively, can support large populations without compromising quality of life. By concentrating resources and infrastructure, cities enable sustainable growth and reduce per capita resource consumption. Embracing vertical architecture and mixed-use developments allows even more people to reside in smaller and smaller areas. However, in the discussion regarding overpopulation, could it be possibly it is our cities that are overpopulated, and not the entire Earth? In many densely populated areas, people oftentimes experience housing shortages, traffic congestion, environmental degradation, health concerns, and a general strain on resources. Granted that a vast majority of people live in these high population centers, it is easy to see how they could experience the restrictive feeling of overpopulation. The image on screen depicts the global population centers in each country. Given the vast land area on Earth, there is clearly enough room for everyone to live. We know there are specific locations that are not very hospitable for humans. The Sahara, most of Australia, Siberia, etc. But, if we are supposedly running out of room on Earth, maybe we should focus on terraforming these locations rather than terraforming an entirely different planet. Just a thought. Now, back to the overarching topic. Where is all this overpopulation talk coming from? If you recall, successful business tycoons Elon Musk and Jack Ma agree that overpopulation is the least of our worries. Actually, they believe the opposite. That population collapse is the biggest danger to our species. They believe this is due to declining fertility rates, and by 2070, This rate will drop well below of what is needed to replace our dying population. Last year, the United Nations published the results of their 2022 World Population Prospects. The 52-page report begins with the global population increase since 1950, and then outlines the population in each region. At the time of publishing, the two most populous regions were Eastern and Southeastern Asia, with 2.3 billion people, representing 29% of the global population, and Central and Southern Asia, with 2.1 billion, or 26%. The report goes on to state that the population of Europe and Northern America combined and that of Sub-Saharan Africa were comparable in size, with more than 1.1 and 1.2 billion people respectively. However, these two regions have reached such population size as a result of very different growth trajectories since the mid-20th century. Whereas Europe and Northern America have been growing at an annual rate of less than 1% since the mid-1960s, reaching a growth rate close to zero in 2020 and 2021. The annual growth rate of the population of Sub-Saharan Africa peaked at 3% in 1978 and remained above 2.8% during the 1980s. Since the 1980s, Sub-Saharan Africa has been the region with the fastest growing population. Based on current and historical data, the UN believes that in the next 3 decades, the regions of the world will experience different growth rates of their populations. Central and Southern Asia is expected to become the most populous region in the world by 2037, as the population of Eastern and Southeastern Asia could start declining by the mid-2030s. Between 2022 and 2050, the population of Sub-Saharan Africa is expected to almost double, surpassing 2 billion inhabitants by the late 2040s. With average fertility levels remaining close to 3 births per woman in 2050, Sub-Saharan Africa is projected to account for more than half of the growth of the world's population between 2022 and 2050. In 2022, the size of the population in this region was growing at an annual rate of 2.5%, the highest among all 8 regions, or more than 3 times the global average of 0.8% per year. More than half of the projected increase in the global population between 2022 and 2050 is expected to be concentrated in just 8 countries: the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, and the United Republic of Tanzania. In contrast, the population of 61 countries or areas are projected to decrease by 1% or more between 2 and 2050. In countries with at least 500,000 population, the largest relative reductions in population size over that period, with losses of 20% or more, are expected to take place in Bulgaria, Latvia, Lithuania, Serbia, and Ukraine. China is expected to experience an absolute decline in its population as early as this year. If these predictions are correct, we would see an overall rise in the population to roughly 9.7 billion in 2050, leaving more than enough room for humans to inhabit and comfortably live. That is, depending on where you live. If humans do not acquire more habitable land, areas such as Sub-Saharan Africa, which will see an exponential increase in its population, will likely succumb to widespread and prevalent poor living conditions. It is important to remember, these numbers were based off predictive models and could not account for war, famine, pandemics, and other unforeseen factors. Additionally, the fluctuating birth rate may affect these numbers in the future, but whatever the outcome, one thing remains certain. Humans are an innovative and resilient species, with nothing but time on our side. Thanks for joining us today while we discussed the overpopulation debate. We hope you enjoyed, and please remember to leave a like and subscribe.